At some level, everything we do is about taking complex ideas and boiling it down into something that's more understandable. This is nothing new. There has always been complex ideas, and there have always been people like me who help others make it more simple, or at least make it digestible so that someone new to the topic can understand it sooner than later. Again, that's nothing new, but it gets more and more important every day because what we do gets more complex. The world is way more complex. How we work is way more complex. And think about AI alone. That impacts how we not only create content, it impacts how we consume content as well. So that makes things more complex. And then, as always, we are too close to what we do. As I've said in many videos, said thousands of times to anybody that will listen to me, we are all too close to it. You know, the metaphor of we can't see the forest for the trees. Most of us are just staring at bark because we're so into what we do. We so excited about it, and we forget what's in here that is not in the head of the other person. So let's go through some examples of descriptions that are a little confusing. These are real world examples, but I've stripped out the name of the organization because who wants to shame somebody? That's not necessary, and it shouldn't even be a shame issue. It should be just that's how life is. People often get caught up in being too complex with how they describe themselves. So here are three examples. Let's start with this one. We secure AI and every other identity from machine to human. Our neutral and extensible platforms let you secure the identity of every AI agent across its full life cycle. Well, it's pretty jargon heavy. Identity, security fabric, extensible platforms, pretty broad. Mentions AI agents, machines, humans, and it assumes some prior knowledge. Maybe lifecycle management isn't a term that everybody uses. And it doesn't really have a path, meaning it introduces complexity pretty immediately. Let's look at this one. We build software that empowers organizations to effectively integrate their data, decisions, and operations. Okay. Well, it is pretty vague. Integrate decisions really doesn't explain the problem. What problem are they solving? Empower is a lovely word, but it's pretty abstract and no clear audience. And there's really no intention for what people should do with this information. All right, let's look at one more. Weave an invisible, intelligent layer of defense into every creation with our AI security fabric, an autonomous defense architecture designed for an era where code creation has accelerated beyond human capacity. Okay. Well, it's poetic, but not really clear. Weave an invisible layer. That doesn't really explain what's happening. There's a lot of jargon, AI security fabric, autonomous defense architecture, and it doesn't really lead with a problem. It mentions code creation acceleration, but it doesn't really connect it to the audience's pain. It doesn't acknowledge where the audience is in their understanding, and it needs some real world testing. Most audiences won't grasp what this actually does. Okay, now let's talk about how do you take complex ideas and boil them down into something that's more understandable, more accessible, more digestible, at least in the beginning. And as I did in a recent video about the elevator pitch has one job, and that is to get you to the next conversation, to get you to inspire the person you're talking to actively want to learn more, to start to see themselves interacting with you in a professional way. And the same concept is true for how you distill complex ideas down. You can't do it all at once. Just like the elevator pitch, it's not a Vulcan mind meld where we put everything into somebody else's head. It is a process. So, with many things I do, I like to use the the journalistic structure of who, what, when, where, why, and how. We're not going to use all of those for this, but we're going to use some of them. So let's get started with that. Who? Who are you talking to? Now, in general, that might seem pretty simple, but I think you also have to think more minutely. You need to think about them in a more micro perspective. So, who are they exactly? Are they potential investors? Well, are they investors that are adjacent to what you do, or that's all they're into? Do you Are you talking to potential employees that may not have the subject matter expert, but they have expertise, but they have other expertise that you need? Are you talking to the someone that is influential in the closing of a sale? So you really have to think about who you're talking to, and then that leads you to the where. Where are they in their journey from knowing anything about you, knowing nothing at all about you, to being an expert on what you do and talking to you about talking about you to everybody? So we're all on a journey, and we want to make certain that we start at the right place. Because if you talk to somebody who is already somewhat familiar, as if they're not, you're going to lose them. So it's important to know where they are on that journey. The next one is why. Why do they need to have this information? Now, you might have a very specific reason for them to have it. If they're an investor, you want them to invest. But why do they want the information? You have to think about what's in it for them. So, what would they do with this information? Why is it important for them to understand it in a way that works for you as well? In another video, I talked about how when somebody asks you the question, "What do you do?" you should answer it with the question, you should answer a different question, and that should be, what's in it for them? So think about why anybody would want to know what they're doing. And then there's when. When are folks at their um, um, most receptive to hear about your message? It probably is not in an elevator. If you're working on something very technical, that's probably not the place to go in and really start to get more specific. If it's in a proposal, perhaps, absolutely. A presentation, a trade show, just a discussion. It's important to think about when are they most receptive to your message. And how? That's really the simplest thing, ironically, because this is all about talking about complex ideas. How is a little bit at a time. Now, let's take a look at those three examples I gave you, and we'll talk about and I'll give you some examples of how we can do those better. Okay, remember this one? We secure AI and every other identity. How about something like, we help enterprises control who has access to what, whether it's your employees, customers, or AI agents, so you can stay secure while you scale. So the action's pretty clear here. It starts with what you do, and that's controlling access. It has a very specific benefit: stay secure while you scale. Doesn't seem to be any jargon, and by the end, the audience does know what problem the platform solves. Let's try another one. Remember the one that's empowering organizations? All right, well, let's try this. We help organizations make faster, smarter decisions by connecting all their data in one place, so that decision makers can see everything that matters and act on it immediately. Specific outcome, clear mechanism, connecting data in one place. Audience focus speaks to decision makers, and it's action oriented. It ends with the result they care about. All right. Then we've got our weavers. They're weaving something invisible. How about this? We help developers ship secure code faster. Our AI automatically scans your code as you write it, catches vulnerabilities before they reach production, and gives you clear fix guidelines so you can stay secure without slowing down. All right, I hope that helped. I know this is a really tough topic to get done in 5 to 10 minutes, but I hope this helps. And if you have questions, put them in the comments. I will read, I will respond, and just know that you're not alone. Everybody at some level suffers through this idea of trying to get what's in our head into the head of somebody else. So, all right, that's it for now. As always, you know the drill. Like, subscribe, tell all your friends, and of course, always stay on brand.